Hi, and welcome everybody. I am Ben Seiler. I work on IoT security here at Microsoft, and with me is Arjmand, who is one of the engineering leads on IoT security. So Arjmand, end-to-end security is one of the core concepts that we bring up again and again for IoT. Could you talk a little bit about why that is so important for IoT security?
Yes, so when we think about IoT security, it's important to think about how this IoT solution gets together.
Right.
There is a cloud side to it, there is these devices which are many and heterogeneous, and then there is connectivity, some form of connectivity. And these could be so many different types of connectivity, different protocols and so on. And you have to think about all these different components coming together as a solution, because if we don't, then there is always a missing link, there's always a weak link which any malicious actor can use. So we have to think about this end to end. And that is how we think about it. We have products and we have features which we provide for securing each component which fits into that end-to-end solution.
Yeah, so one of those components that I really like is Azure Security Center, which has existed for a while, but now has IoT features. So could you take us on a deeper dive of how Azure Security Center provides that end-to-end threat detection for your IoT environment?
Yes. So Azure Security Center has been out there for many years. Over these years, we have built a lot of expertise and knowledge about what does an attack look like.
Right.
Who are the malicious actors out there, like their IP address and so on. What do they do? What are the patterns that they follow when they are launching an attack? So all that information helps us to identify attacks. And that, up till now, we have been using that to protect Azure. So any VM, any service that is up there, we can protect because we have all this knowledge and we are monitoring and constantly making sure that it's all in a good place. But what we have now done, again based on what I described as our end-to-end story here, is to take Azure Security Center and extend its functionality to devices as well, all the way to on-prem devices which might be deployed out there, which might be again heterogeneous scale, so many of those out there, but we want to actually get signals from those as well. And then based on the knowledge that we have of the patterns of attacks and who's attacking and who are the bad actors out there, we can actually tell you what are the bad things that are happening to your end-to-end solution. So the key here is to make sure that we are collecting all this information, make sure that we understand the patterns of attacks, and then make sure that we can get back to the administrators who are running this solution and tell them what is going on.
Makes sense. Another really important thing that Azure Security Center does, beyond just looking for all the different attacks, is it helps you improve your security posture as well. So could you give us a little bit more detail on how it improves security posture for your entire IoT deployment?
Yeah, so security posture management is an extremely important thing because that is what sets you up for success, right? So again, in this new world where all these devices are also now getting connected to the cloud as well as your applications, we need to come up with a new way of looking at your posture. And this is what we do with Azure Security Center for IoT. We provide you with recommendations of what are the best practices that we know from the industry that need to be part of your solution. We will tell you, I'll give you a few examples. We'll tell you what ports are open on a certain device which is out there on-prem. What ports should not be open? This is all based on best practices that we understand. And then we will tell you what those best practices and what your posture looks like. And then we will also tell you some things that you could do. If there's a bad thing in here, we'll tell you, go and put a new cert there or close that port and so on. So we will give you, first of all, the information as well as how do you remediate the issues that we point out.
Makes a lot of sense. And I guess for me, what I'd love to see is to see it in action.
Yeah. So I will certainly show that in action right now. What I have here is IoT Hub, which is Azure IoT Hub is our core product which we have for IoT connecting all the devices. Now, Azure Security Center has its own portal, a few blades in Azure portal, which you can also use. And the reason why I'm making that distinction is because of the two personas over here. The two to people, the different types of people who would actually use this information. One of them is the security operator, the SecOps people, right? So these are the people who actually are looking at the security profile of your whole organization, right? And they have the whole enterprise security view. They know what network security looks like. And in that same place, we have enabled them to look at their IoT device security.
Right.
So that's like their view just became bigger, and now they have much more view, much more information about what's going on in their organization. The other persona here is a DevOps. And they have actually put together this solution and deployed it on their in their enterprise. And now they also need to have the security view of what is going on. So over here, what I'm showing here is an overview, and I'll go into details a little bit. So I'm showing threat protection. This has all the resources I have in my solution. It is telling me that I have one IoT hub, which is actually red, so I need to go in and see what's going on. There are some detections, so the ASC could actually detect some devices which had issues, and based on that, it is giving me some alerts. And right now, these are 387 alerts which I'm getting from the most attacked devices. By the way, this is all simulated data, so it's not that bad.
No cause for alarm.
No cause for alarm here. But then, what I do here is the first thing, I can actually go in and look at these resources. Right now, IoT solutions can have these cloud services, they can have these devices, and these cloud services could be so many different types of, right? For example, I could have storage, I could have machine learning, I could have a VM doing something. So all these resources we can detect. And then what we do is through auto detection, we can bring them up here and say, okay, because you chose to monitor your IoT solution, here is how what we detected. But also, there could be additional services which you want to add, and hence, these are the user-defined services which we allow you to add to this monitoring solution. Right?
Sure.
Once you have added those in, then we go in and start giving you recommendations. Now, this is your posture management, right? This is telling you what is the state of each component within your solution. For example, requires secure transfer to storage. And if you click over here, we'll tell you what the issue is and we'll give you some steps for remediation. And this is important because some of these things can become pretty complex.
Right.
So we give you some links, we tell you where to go and do those things, and it's very specific to that issue that we found. So that's your recommendations. And then on top of it, we have some security alerts. Now these security alerts essentially tell you when bad things happen on your network, on your IoT infrastructure, they pop up over here. They're all severity based, so it will show you the top severities over here. And then one of them is suspicious process, right? So on that device, based on the recommendations, you whitelisted a few processes, and now there's another process which popped up, which shouldn't have been there. So we'll detect that, we will go in and give you an alert, you the administrator an alert, and tell you that this shouldn't have happened. Right? So now you can go in and you can say, okay, what do I need to do? How do I actually go in and remediate that? So this gives you the recommendations as well as the alerts. Now the next thing here is the ability to actually go in and define some custom alerts. Now we do give you alerts, but these are very standard alerts. There could be some alerts which you need which have to be very specific to your scenario, right?
Sure.
This many devices can connect to this service, as an example. Any new device comes in, it will alert you. So over here, you can actually define a certain device group, and then from there you can define a certain threshold and so on. So that gives you a good way of getting some alerts. Now, one thing to note here is, while we are doing all these recommendations, we are collecting all this data from your devices, you can take all of that data into Azure Sentinel. And you can actually start analyzing that data in one place. And that is the key here. We do not want to add more different things to your workflow.
Right.
You have Azure Sentinel, you're already evaluating and you're doing all the security analysis in there. This simply pumps data in there and you have the same kind of experiences you're used to. So it brings all of it together. Hopefully it makes it easy, but also it gives you a lot of details about your infrastructure.
Yeah, that's great. From the onboarding experience where you can bring in everything that's connected to your IoT hub automatically to make it easy and then add the additional services that you need, all the way through the threat protection and the security posture management that both show you those stack ranked, really easy to use and follow remediate steps. And then being able to take that data and then use it in a SIEM, use it in Azure Sentinel, wherever makes sense for you. Great approach. Thanks, Arjmand. And thank you all for tuning in. We've got other videos that will cover more aspects of IoT security, so please watch out for those. Thank you.